Broken Shore 2.0 is happening in the world within, and it looks like the sacrifices might be as big as they were back in Legion. There are heavy hints that we're going to get a Varian type cinematic for Khadgar, as he might perish in the battle against Xal'atath. Dalaran has been brought down and destroyed after all these years by Nerubian webs as it crashed on the shores of Khaz'Alagar. There we fight a giant Nerubian army led by Xal'atath personally, a ton of old characters return, and it is just one big crazy mess. However, that is just the start of giant, and I mean giant spoilers from the alpha. We learn what the light crystal is, we connect Xal'atath with Kalesh, we learn more about world souls, we finally get actual reveals on who Xal'atath is, and there's just so much stuff to unravel. So let's look at all the war within alpha information, datamined models, datamined items and hints, and let's unravel this giant event that will start the next expansion. So you have definitely at least heard about Raid Shadow Legends until now, but did you know that right now is the best time to actually get into it? Right now they're celebrating spring in Terraria with a special spring hunt minigame where you can, for the first time ever, win real world prizes, gaming consoles, as well as Amazon gift cards. It's real simple. Download the game with my link, head over to springhunt.plarium.com, enter your raid ID, and start searching for hidden items. Once completed, you can win gaming consoles and Amazon gift cards with a value of $10,000, or in-game loot like legendary champions or skill tomes. Better yet, in April, first ever Community Week celebration is happening. Existing and new players will get a ton of rewards. Everyone can get a free legendary champion, Chronicle 8 lane, a top tier support, which I personally find very useful. All you gotta do is log in for 7 days until July 8th, but that is only the start of a ton more login rewards. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code and you will get insane rewards, but of course only with my link. Immediately you will get a huge starter pack with an epic champion Tyrell, and you'll get another starter pack after reaching level 25 that includes an epic rector draft. All only available by my link or the QR code. After you download it, use the promo code SPRINGHUNT24 to get silver and more. You can play Raid on mobile and PC, so find me in game under the name Doran's Movies and join my clan Doran. See you on the battlefield. So I don't really even know where to start here, as there's just so much information. I mean, so many new models, so many new story hints, a lot of previous theories confirmed, like for example, the crystal very likely being another ship, as I had previously stated in a video, seeing that we just learned that it is actually called the Beledar, and as you may know, we had Genedar, Genedar, Zenedar, Vindicar, which were all Naru ship's names, so Beledar is quite similar, so this really is a Naru mission, but what the purpose of it is, we are yet to learn. However, these are topics for like 6 different videos. In this one, I really want to cover the new Broken Shore we are getting. Like, this is literally going to be the Broken Shore, as it seems like Dalaran crashes on the shores of the Isle of Dorm. Keep in mind, Blizzard has stated that they had purposefully encrypted this entire event, like how it actually starts. So in the alpha, you're going to start after a cinematic and a whole bunch of other spoiler-heavy events that are going to happen, but we have some encrypted models, some 10.2.7 information, some models from the alpha, some item hints, some interview hints, that I would say we can definitely predict pretty closely what is going to actually happen in this event, even early as now. Personally, I don't think this Broken Shore 2.0 is going to be as cataclysmic as the first one, as in the original Broken Shore, we were facing off the brunt of the biggest Legion invasion of Azeroth with like a million spaceships, portals, giant demons. By all accounts, this seems like a big bait event by Xal'atath to get us to go to the Isle of Dorn so we can fall into her hands and so that we can fight the Nerubian army she had just empowered. It seems like she strikes, but not strikes in like one massive attack trying to wipe us all out in a huge invasion, but more like we follow her and then we kind of realize we're a little bit in over our heads. So to get this all to make sense for you, let us start from the beginning, and that is 10.2.7 and how this is leading into the pre-patch that will then lead into this event. 10.2 is the finale of Dragonflight, 10.2.5 was patching up loose ends with Gilneas and Belamet, and 10.2.7 is by all datamined accounts the bridge between Dragonflight and the War Within. The reason I say this is because people have noticed really strange updates to the Legion version of Dalaran that was seemingly unrelated to anything, and now with this new information it all makes sense. Remember, remember, lore-wise, Dalaran has still been on the Broken Isles, it never really moved from this place. So, in 10.2.7, the Forsaken and the Vorgan were removed from the sanctuaries and the old factions were returned, sort of showing us that Dalaran is no longer as split internally and it seems to be uniting for something. Now, we know what this something is. Then, Telegra's Rift, the Void Elf capital, got a huge update, and surprisingly and mysteriously at the time, it got a Kirin Tor banner right next to a portal, which might have meant that the Void Elves can officially join Dalaran. Then we had Illyria going to Dalaran in the cinematic that was announced at BlizzCon as she's examining the whispers that she's getting, and it seems like the cinematic ends in the palace where the Council of Six is. Then the leader of the Void Elves, Magister Umbric, has been datamined in 10.2.7, but his model has actually been encrypted and his title as well, meaning there are some heavy spoilers here, but some hints have been that he might have joined the council, especially as Kaligos has now done the aspects thing. However, things then start to go kinda crazy. We datamined 13 different Harbinger quests, and you can watch my previous video for the names and the detailed accounts of how this will play out. However, it seems like we're hunting down Xal'atath into the void from Telegra's Rift. We learn what she did with Galakron, then she attacks Telegra's Rift and we have to defend. I mean, the name of the quest is literally called Defend Telegra's Rift. Seeing the Dalaran port on Telegra's Rift, it seems like this is a joint mission by the Void Elves and Dalaran to discover Xal'atath, and this is going to be what is going to lead us into the pre-patch. However, now we get to the really good stuff. Previously, it was stated that the pre-patch will be about us getting Whispers of Azeroth, and by the way, let me give you some really quick spoilers from the alpha, and these are really big spoilers, so keep this in mind. Apparently, the planet destroyed by the Void Lord Dimensius the All-Devouring Kalesh had a world soul, and it also started giving the same radiant warnings to their inhabitants, the same ones that Azeroth is giving to us, but the Ethereals understood them too late, and the planet fell apart, and they couldn't stop Dimensius the All-Devouring the Void Lord from destroying the planet. This explains why the Ethereals have been following us these past few years, because they know it is going to be the exact same thing. This very likely confirms that Azeroth is not a Titan yet again, and there have been some hints that Xal'atath is the harbinger of this Void Lord in particular, as remember, the Void Lords don't really work together, and she might have already destroyed a planet once in the past, so this gives quite a bit of further context to her mission and her character and who Xal'atath really is. So to quickly sum it up, in 10.2.7 we're going to learn what Xal'atath is doing. In the pre-patch we're going to learn about Khaz'Alagar, we're going to be preparing the invasion together with Troll, Jaina, Khadgar, Anduin, and a whole bunch of other characters that I will talk about in a bit, and it is all going to go terribly wrong. As I had previously stated, Blizzard has encrypted his spot, but we can sort of pick up the pieces, I mean literally, as Dalaran has been completely shattered into pieces. So Blizzard states that Khaz'Alagar is really close to Pandaria. They actually emphasize this, aka Manti territory, which I feel like is going to be so relevant, especially with the recent Pandaria remix stuff. Well, as the war within starts, we reach the Isle of Dorn, which is the outer crust of Khaz'Alagar, and it seems like Xal'atath personally, with her Nerubian army, actually brings down the city from the sky. Now, at this point in time, we can't tell whether the entire city was destroyed or just a portion, and some part managed to teleport away, but it is, without a doubt, heavily damaged. There have been a few images of Nerubian webs over destroyed Dalaran towers, and it seems like it was through these webs that they managed to bring the giant floating city down. I think we can expect a pretty epic cinematic that is going to show the actual fall of Dalaran. So now huge, and I mean huge spoiler alert, but looks like Khadgar sacrifices himself in this scenario and we get Broken Shore 2.0 and Varian 2.0. Now, you guys might remember that Khadgar appeared back in Shadowlands. He had a really depressed type conversation with Jaina where he was saying that he felt the weight of the years, the burdens of the choices he made, and he was really down on himself and he really wasn't optimistic about the future. Back then, it seemed like just a downer moment, but it is likely that he had a vision of what is going to happen soon, as remember, this guy is not just a regular mage. Furthermore, there have been some hints of Medivh, his former master, potentially returning, so all of this could be relevant. Khadgar also made a small appearance with the new Night Elf city in Dragonflight, so it is quite obvious that they have been setting up his characters for this sacrifice for quite a while now, and we're definitely going to get more Khadgar dialogues in 10.2.7 very likely, and definitely in the pre-patch. Now, talking about the evidence, we can't say for certain what happened. It is possible that he might have been imprisoned or just missing, but I really think he is actually gone. The work in progress screen where the cinematic is supposed to happen says that Dalaran's strike force was destroyed and that we all now take a moment for Khadgar. Take a moment really has strong wording that he is indeed gone. As I don't know why we would take a moment if he was just missing. We'll probably just rush to actually save him. Also, it kind of shows us that Chris Madsen is fully back with the storyline. I mean, remember, he was behind Legion, he was behind the Broken Shore and how we got wrecked, and you know, Shadowlands was like a huge contest where everyone was imprisoned in a similar event, but then everyone was saved, only to sit around the capital city for 2 years and do nothing. So it is highly likely there is actually going to be some really big cinematic akin to the sacrifice of Vol'jin or Varian that will involve Khadgar that we'll see once the expansion is released. Then after we reconvene with Jaina and Troll, we are searching for survivors and we are fighting the brunt of the Nerubian army. Interesting enough, a whole bunch of old characters appear in this invasion scenario that are going to be relevant to the war within. We got Aether Sunreaver, we got Metal Fellstorm, Moira Torreson and her son, Grand Bronzebeard, among other notable characters. Now, some things happen and apparently Jaina and Troll portal away, but Anduin stays behind to fight, and Illyria seems to be really rushing to fight Xal'atath and goes after her. This strongly implies that Xal'atath is going to be here at the destruction of Dalaran in first person, and it is likely that she's also the one that kills Khadgar, which might be what further enrages Illyria. Now, as they're fighting the Nerubians, the native Earthens see this battle and they don't really know who we are, but seeing that they're also the enemies of the Nerubians and the Nerubians are actively trying to exterminate them as well, they trust us, they take us to their capital, and that is how we establish first contact with this new allied race. Then we learn about various factions, how some Earthens still follow the Titan Edict, some have abandoned them, and interestingly enough, we also discover some Void Earthen that have either been converted or had joined Xal'atath willingly, which is definitely going to be a huge storyline in the future. Now, that is from the Broken Shore of Khaz'Alagar events. Other than this, surprisingly, Anduin does have his light in the sword, which he didn't have in the artwork, but that could be early alpha. They might not have modeled the same sword without the light, as it seems like the theory that he abandoned the light is actually accurate. We got some dialogues where he states that we don't really know what is going on and what the light is. Other than this, we discover a whole bunch of other creatures, huge implications for the Arati humans that I'll be covering in a different video. However, it looks like the war within is really going to make an entry and they're really just going all in on this expansion. I mean, sacrificing the iconic city of Dalaran and Khadgar right out the bat is a pretty ballsy move. Personally, I expected Dalaran to get back to the ground in midnight, and that is still possible as we don't know whether anything remains of the city. However, interesting enough, Dalaran gets destroyed and in midnight we will return to the original land where Dalaran was. It might be possible that they will actually rebuild the city upon the original ground where it once was, but that is so far into the future that we can't really say anything with any sort of accuracy. So make sure to click on the link in the description or scan the QR code and get amazing rewards with Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you for watching. Check out Khaz'Alagar Street. The planet destroyed by the Sword of Sargeras has been updated in 10.2.7 by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!